I'll have to apologize now that I'm outside, right on Main Street. It's gonna get kind of loud. It's feeling like spring out here in Vermont finally. This is when people bring out their loudest engines. So now, taking apart the furthest one of these, got that and be cleaned up. Grease to clear away. So I can set that down. This piece, which has the sort of channel through it, that will be the guide for the springs on the inside when we go to put this back together. I'm doing this for as much my benefit as yours right now so I can remember how this goes back together. The hardest part about these is removing this inner ring. Just need to find the seam, and I believe it's right there. So this is just a matter of willpower at this point. I take a very sharp screwdriver and then I listen for where the spring landed. So the next time I do that, I will have my hand over the spring because it flew about 25 feet. Luckily, I heard it hit something hard and I knew it landed on the pavement, not the grass. In order to remove this top cover, a quick peek inside. There it is. See what that looked like inside. And you can see what that looks like inside. It's full of ancient grease. I'm going to go get gloves for this next part. As far as taking these springs out, I've seen people put them in a sack and do other things. I actually just work them out. Luckily my Johnny Cash shirt here is the same color as the grease. So I've got it out, and now I'm just going to work it, keeping my hands around it at all times. Do not try to do this too quickly. And just remember that you got to put this back after. Just feed it a little at a time. That guy's psyched. And I'm now down to the last one. And this is the later system that has the clip, unlike that terrible system with the little ridge. There it is. That is all got to come off. These actually look like they're in remarkably good shape. And with these, you don't really have to worry about what direction they were going, because there's really only one way of putting them back. So there's the first one. You can see here why you might want to wear gloves for this. So looking at the inner barrel, you can see how old and dried and caked in this grease is. This is what we're replacing. And so now you want to get this middle piece out. And that should just require a finger and then lifting it out, taking all that grease with it. And there it is. And then you've uncovered the second spring. down inside. I'm going to take that one out a lot like I just did the first one, except because it's me, I'm actually going to clean off the first spring first before I dig in. I'm just going to take some Gojo scrubbing wipes and I'm going to go through. I'll scrape off the hard stuff first, and then I'll just go through and I will clean this all the way down to nothing. Some people use kerosene for this. I try not to use anything that I'm going to have to figure out a way to get rid of later. As it gets closer to the inside, it gets a little tougher to clean because the springs are so tight. That's when I just feed it in, work it back and forth best you can. You do want to be pretty thorough because this is not something you want to have to take apart again in your lifetime. And given how long these things last, you shouldn't have to take it apart again. Some folks don't like to clean these by hand. It is actually a little bit easier to throw this in a bucket of kerosene, swish it back and forth. I like to do it by hand because I like to feel when each hardened piece of grease is not there. You can really feel it through these Gojo cloths, if there's a little nub of dried grease in there or not. Take and wipe it all down with some paper towel. Feeling for any last bits of hardened grease. And after I wipe it down with the paper towel, I wipe it down with a clean shop rag inside, just so that if it's picked up any parts of grease that is hanging out on the porch or any stones or dust, you'll get it all out of there. I don't want anything grinding inside of this when I put it back together. And make your way all the way to the middle. And in the end, you have a clean spring that you can mostly touch without gloves. I'll go give it a wipe down. Other than a little corrosion on it, just discoloration, the outer one, and I'll do the same with this one. These are recessed, perfect places for the grease to sit. There it is. love it when people think that you want to hear their music. He and I listen to very different music. I love to hear one of these guys come rolling up playing Peerless Quartet. All right. All the internals are clean. On to the next spring. All right, now this one probably going to be a little more difficult as it's in so much farther. I know it's at least a little more difficult getting it back in. Is to go slow and to not be in a hurry. Because it spins out on you. Oh boy, that one got all kinds on it. And this is what the inside of that barrel looks like. So you can see the springs are going two different directions. The bottom spring is going counterclockwise. The upper spring is going clockwise, depending on your perspective, how you look at it, I guess. I will get that all cleaned out inside there as well. And then I'll clean the spring, much like I did the last one.